Back to Brian's Beat.
Who is always on the spot? Who is Yogi Bear? Who keeps cool when things are hot? Who does Yogi Bear? Who believes a wild daydream and falls for some fantastic scheme, but always winds up on the beam? Yogi Bear.
Wow. That is an old one right there. Hour 2 of Brian's Beat. Hi, I'm Brian. It was me. Named the show after me. Before we continue, because we got a couple of interesting topics that I believe we should delve into on the program today, let's do the Brian's Beat quote of the day, courtesy of monthlyfeerx.com. If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, then our monthly fee RX service might be a good option for you. Check for yourself at monthlyfeerx.com. And our quote of the day comes from Mo Howard. Yes, Mo from the Three Stooges. He was asked about the slapstick and the violence of the Three Stooges. His response was, "We're not nearly as violent as the Westerns." Might be right up there, but I got to tell you, I'm still a Stooges fan. Always have been. I don't think the first time that I saw the Stooges that I was mesmerized by their antics. We're not nearly as violent as the Westerns. Now, I think maybe I need to sit down and watch a couple of Stooges shorts and then watch a couple of Westerns. I don't know which ones, and do a comparison. I'm taking over the TV. That's what I'm doing. Something we brought up during hour number 1 about the fact that there have been at least 2 school shootings in school. You know, around here, school has been open for a little more than a week. In some other areas, it's been open for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know when school opened in Maryland or around Baltimore, but there was a shooting there yesterday where a child, a high school student, was shot dead. The perp has been nabbed, or at least the alleged perp has been nabbed. We have the 14-year-old accused of shooting 2 students and 2 staff members at a Georgia school. On Thursday, a student brought a makeshift gun to Waltham High School. 17-year-old, at least at this particular time, I don't know his name. And if you didn't hear about this last night, the Dover-Sherburne High School football game was canceled at Dedham High because earlier in the day, somebody got on the phone and made a threat that somebody was going to shoot up the football game. And as a precautionary measure, the authorities decided, well, we're just not going to go forward. Now, we had a caller earlier who made the statement that, you know, there seems to be a lot of shootings, when it comes to kids anyway, at schools. And my statement was, why is it always someone other than something that has happened at the school that's to blame? And if I were the only one thinking about this, I would say, you know, there's me, the idiot, just nilly-willy thinking about something. But Thomas Sowell, who I deeply respect, he made a comment one time. I'm sorry I don't have it on my person, but I'll find it. Sowell stated, You know, everything seems to happen outside of the school, and folks get blamed outside of the school. And it's amazing to him that you've got the Teachers Association and many others involved with the schools that never want to allow some kind of study, comprehensive study, to see if maybe something is going on in the schools that are triggering kids to go off. At least to try to figure out what could be the problem. Or at least to eliminate schools from being a problem. Again, it would be one thing if kids were off school property and doing this, and they do. Please don't get me wrong. But there seems to be an awful lot of school shootings at school, on school property. And isn't it worth a study? I mean, we certainly have no problem spending money for kids to have computers in school, no problem spending money for people to come in and put a pickle on a condom on a pickle and do those kind of things. Why can't we, school shootings are big. You want people, you have school officials, you have mayors and select board members who are coming out and stating that schools need to be a safe environment, and yet you can't do this type of study to see that if maybe something that's going on within the schools are making it unsafe for X number of students that trigger them to go off like this. Seems to make a little sense to me, but what the hell do I know? 508-996-0500. On the election ballot, besides voting for president, besides voting for U.S. senator, besides voting for your local congressperson and your state rep and your state senator, on the election ballot will be 5 ballot initiatives or referendums. One of the questions ask us if tipped employees, which would be folks that work at restaurants, and there may be some others involved, but folks that work at restaurant, the waiter and the waitress, remember back in those days, that's what we called them, should they be paid minimum wage plus allowed to collect tips? If you don't know, there's a minimum wage for tipped employees. In the Commonwealth, it's somewhere around $6.75. I might be off a little bit, but it's around $6.75. Minimum wage here in the Commonwealth, as you know, is $15 an hour. My thought is, if you bump the minimum wage, if the voters of the Commonwealth, you read the same people that voted in the millionaire's tax, if the voters of the Commonwealth say yes, that tipped employees should get the same minimum wage that other folks that, you might be working at the YMCA or working some other type of job that only pays minimum wage. If you vote that those tipped employees should also get a minimum wage, my guess is we'll have more restaurants closing because you're not going to get as many people going out to restaurants because these restaurants are going to have to charge more money. Again, you have to think of the bottom line. Business is in business to solve a problem, but they're also there in order for the owners, stockholders as it may be in some companies, and the employees to make some coin. And if their expenses go up, they pass those expenses on to the patron, the me's and you's. I don't go to restaurants all that often, but this would be another reason not to do so. I was talking to Barry about this yesterday on his show. And he's absolutely correct. You know, you go to an ice cream stand, and a woman friend and I, we do that often during this time of year. You go to an ice cream stand, and they've got a tip jar out there for ice cream. Now, look, it's not that I don't tip, but we're just going out for ice cream. I don't know what a person that works at an ice cream stand is making. I'm sure it's not a king's ransom. But at the same time, you know, you look at what you're spending on ice cream right now. Ice cream, let's see, 3 scoops of ice cream. Where did we go yesterday? Oxford Creamery. 3 scoops of ice cream cost about $7 and change. 3 scoops of ice cream. $7 and change. Now, yes, I know we could sit at home and scoop out, you know, go to the store and probably get a half gallon for $6 and get more than 3 scoops. Yeah, that's true. But what are we doing? What are we doing to the me's and you's, the patrons? Things are already expensive. We had, let me see, I've got it written down here somewhere. Commonwealth of Massachusetts. People filing a first-time unemployment claim for the week that ended a week ago today, so August 31st, 7,751. My guess is some of those people had seasonal jobs. They went back to school, or maybe they didn't go to school, but they are somehow collecting. What's the difference? The week before, 5,783. So about 2,000 more, actually a little bit more than 2,000 more people filing a first-time unemployment claim. Nationwide, we had 5,000 more people file an unemployment claim. So everything is getting more expensive. Mayor Mitchell is trying to get internet access, faster speed for less money, which I think many people want. Same with the TV programming service. I know I'm dating myself, and I am a good date, I got to admit. But I'm dating myself when I say this. But I remember my mother's first cable bill was $14. We split it, $7 each. And why did we split it? Because I wanted cable into the house. Now look what you pay. And I'm not sure about everything that I get with extended cable. And so I don't have cable anymore. But just Xfinity's service is about $100 just for high-speed internet and Wi-Fi. Well, that eats into the budget, so to speak. You've got groceries eating into the budget. Grocery prices haven't come down. Have you noticed? If you go to BJ's, the gas price, I noticed today, was in the 280s. But that's at BJ's. If you don't have a BJ's card, yeah, I guess you're kind of stuck. Because every place else that I saw, the price was over $3 per gallon. But everywhere you seem to go, they're nickeling and diming us. And so now, tipped employees, and I suppose I feel sorry for them, but not to the point that I want to shell out more money myself. Oh, look, I just won't go. Or I will only go seldomly. And what about those restaurants? Remember Old Country Buffet? Big, lot of food on the buffet, but it was a buffet. You pay X amount of dollars. Are you supposed to tip at a place like that? I guess the option is there for you to tip. You go to some of these Sunday brunch buffets like at Merrill's on the waterfront or Bittersweet Farm. Yes, they have a server that comes around every once in a while. You need more water. But you pay a hefty price for the meal. And then you're supposed to give 20% off of that for somebody that is being nice, but pouring you water, maybe getting you an orange juice. And for that, you're supposed to pay an extra $7, $8, $9, $10. Now, I know I might be sounding cheap here, but now these servers could be getting minimum wage. Would it be wrong if they get minimum wage not to tip them? Because that's the way I'm leaning here. Sometimes the service isn't all that great. Sometimes the floor around you still has a whole bunch of crap. You know, somebody's macaroni and cheese that hasn't been swept up or vacuumed yet. Do you blame that on the server? But it's part of the experience. Isn't that what you tip off of, part of that experience? So, it's a ballot question. If you intend to vote, would you be voting to allow tipped employees to have a minimum wage comparable to the minimum wage for everybody else? 508-996-0500. Is that a yes or a no? And I guess the other side of the question would be, no matter how you're thinking about voting, how do you think the people of the Commonwealth will respond? Will these tipped employees become regular minimum wage candidates? And I'm sure it'll be good for them. But is it good for the me's and you's? I don't think it is, but I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You know, this tipping has gotten out of hand. I've been saying this for years, okay? I'm over in the Dayton area. I've seen tip cups, Mr. Bryan, in package stores, okay, on the counter, and that's a true story.
I hear you, man.
I don't know why they wanted a tip in a package store. Maybe they figured if they carried it up to the car, a case of beer. If I don't drink anyway, but if I did, I would carry my own. You follow?
I got you, and I do.
And in Europe, they did away with tipping. Did you hear about that?
I didn't know that they did away with it, but I do know that they pay everybody. So tipping is totally up to you if you want to.
One of my Portuguese friends says it's not mandatory to tip over there. In other words, they kind of made it obsolete.
Well, I don't think it's mandatory to tip here. That's why it's called the tip. But we do. I mean, and we're made to feel very shallow if we don't.
Everybody's got their bloody hand out. In other words, I go to Marshfield Fair. I used to go a lot. It's too far to go now. I used to go to the blues festivals up there. And even to go take a leak, they got a big tip cup in there.
Oh, no, you got to be kidding me.
Honest, you ask anybody that went to Marshfield Fair and went to the blues festival, went to the bathroom, and they got a tip cup in there. Honest, I'm not kidding you.
Oh, that, you know what? You got a tip cup in the bathroom. Watch out. Watch. Tip cup in the men's room. Maybe not in the women's room, but in the men's room, uh-oh.
That's true. Honest, I wouldn't make that up. Honest. I hope somebody calls up that's been there and they recognize what I said, you know?
All right, man. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Nice talking to you. And keep it local, brother.
Hey,
keep it local.
Hey, so am I to think that you're not going to vote for this?
You know, I'm tired of people saying they rely on tips for their job. Well, get a real job. I never had a job where I had to rely on tips to live.
I got you, man. I appreciate the
There's
call.
a place up there. I don't know if I can mention names of places. Can I? No, you can't.
Places you can.
There's a place up here at 138 in the Dayton-Taunton line called Freights.
Don't know it.
Their prices are outrageous to start with. I brought my grandson one time. They got a hamburger and a soda. It was $23.
How much did you tip?
Nothing.
What a nice guy you turned out to be.
Oh.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Brian, this is Brian's Beat.
Sure.
And welcome back, 508-996-0500. Actually, Ray went through the app chat, which you can get through the WBSM app, and he says, when I tip, I don't predicate on how much the server is making, but on the service that is provided to him. Excellent point. All right, let's hear from you. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A lot of what we're paying at the pump, electric, has to do with the government taxes and regulations. Most of what you're paying for gasoline is taxes, not the greedy oil company, as Liz Warren wants you to believe. And now we're supposed to pay because Mayor Mitchell is doing a study by an outside consultant firm that's not cheap to find out that the average person can't afford a high-speed internet service. And the children in the public schools and their notebooks are basically computers, so they can get on TikTok and watch all kinds of garbage. Most of us poor people and the working class, we can't even afford our electric bills because the Democrats up on Beacon Hill say that we got to pay for electric vehicle charging stations, renewable energy, and wind and solar as our main source of electricity, when Maura Healey rejected electricity on the cheap from Canada and the Niagara Falls. They're the ones that created this big problem.
You're not going to get an argument from me.
But they keep telling us, the Democrats keep lying to us and say it's the greedy companies. They want to make, whether it's at the supermarket, price gouging. Liz Warren wants you to believe that. I mean, what's the profit margin at the supermarkets? 2%? You're lucky if you can get 3%.
You know what? That's a little deceptive because there are so many items at a supermarket. But you're right. It is a low profit margin. But when you think of all the different supermarkets that there are, it works out very well for them. Otherwise, you wouldn't see people buying stock in Royal Aho and some of these other companies.
Do you know what the main driver is to have the servers at restaurants get paid an hourly wage? It's all about taxes. They want more tax revenue because if you're getting tipped, a lot of these servers, they're not going to say how much they're making. They're going to probably lowball the figure. This is all about tax money, and it's going to put a lot of these restaurants out of business. It's all about more taxes. And the taxes, the overtaxation and overregulation is really destroying our economy and making a lot of people poorer. That's my final point on this whole thing.
Very good point. Thank you very much. And I think taxes do have quite a bit to do with it. Great point. Should tipped employees, this is one of our ballot questions on the November 5th election ballot. Should tipped employees be paid minimum wage plus be allowed to take tips? 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As far as tips go, I'm 87 years old, and I never go through a drive-through without giving them a tip, like $1. No, the dollar never made a difference in my life. I always give them $1 tip, and they're smiling like you wouldn't believe. So what happens with that dollar is they probably, if they could get $1 from each car, there'd be another $40, $50 in their pay, and that would really make, you got to circulate the money. I'm not broke.
Okay, but that's fine. The question is, should they be getting minimum wage?
Not really. It should be the way it is, so they can make more money with the tips.
I would think so. I mean, certainly servers, waiters, waitresses that I know of, they always say they make more money with tips than they do in their paycheck. Mm-hmm. So I'm not quite sure where this is coming from. The previous caller seems to have it pretty clued in, though. It's that government wants to get more tax dollars here.
Previous caller had it right on the money. He was on the money. Yeah, very good.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Have a good day.
You too. It's an excellent point. I haven't really heard. In fact, the few times I was at Bayside in Fairhaven the other day, I did not hear any of the servers, of which there was only one really, talking about anything dealing with minimum wage. And it seems to me if you are a hustler and you have a smile, male or female, you're going to do pretty well at that game. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to get into is somebody declaring properly or not declaring their tips properly. But it seems to me when you're at the age of 35, 45, and you're still doing it and you have that hustle in you, you like what you're doing. Hello.
Hello, Brian, the cab driver.
Hello, Brian, the cab driver.
How did you do with tips when you were cab driving?
Should I say?
Well, I'm asking you. It's up to you.
Yeah, I did fairly well.
Did you expect a tip? Did you want a tip?
Honest answer to that question is I expected a tip from the people that I know that I knew would be tipping me, the people that usually ask for me.
Okay, so if you saw that the person, you made a determination that the person that was in the cab didn't have much money, you didn't care then, right?
I did not. I would never even bring it up.
Yeah, because I've had some friends get in cabs and they say, the cab driver will ask for a tip. Say, hey, I know
really?
Tip or something like that. Yeah, that's yeah.
Well, I sounded a little shocked when you said that, but no, I do know a couple of drivers that used to complain about that. Hey, look, and we didn't get paid any kind of hourly. You hustle for your money as a cab driver. You get a part of the fares. If people want to tip you, yay. If they don't want to tip you, and there were people that were kind folks that just didn't tip for whatever reason.
How do you get paid as a cab driver? How does that work? Is it an hourly or what is it?
No, the company that I worked for, we split everything right down the middle except for the tips. Tips you get to keep. So the rental lease, I split with the company, and the gas, I split with the company.
Oh, I see. You had to pay for gas too. Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're chewing it up.
Well, what's the difference between the cabbies and the Uber drivers and stuff like that now today?
Uber drivers are paying for everything on their own.
Oh.
And they don't collect money. Not that you can't tip them, but most people, when they tip an Uber or a Lyft driver, they put it because it's all done online. They actually put the tip off of their credit or debit card.
Mm-hmm. I see. Well, it's kind of tough in New Bedford today. A lot of times, even if you go to a convenience store or something, there's somebody there outside there saying, hey, got a buck? Got a couple of bucks? So, I don't know. Is that a tip, too? I don't know.
Isn't that a panhandler?
Yeah, that's what a panhandler is.
Yeah.
So you got tippers and panhandlers, and, it's in New Bedford. I don't know if you have as much in the towns.
See, to me, there's a difference because this is about tipped employees. By the name, that means they are covered workers. They could be getting workman's compensation and all of those other things. A panhandler doesn't get that.
Well, the other day I went to a store and there's a guy outside and he opens the door for you and he looks at you, like that. So when I was coming out, he opened the door again. I looked down, and there was a dime on the ground. I said, "Hey, keep your eyes on the ground." I picked up the dime. I gave it to him.
See, you are a lot kinder than I am, because I would have said, "You see that dime down there? Go pick it up."
No,
and I would have been on my way.
No. You know, the guy looks like, you know, he's on, you know, he's not doing that well, you know, so that sort of stuff. But it is difficult, you know, to, you know, get hit up by the panhandlers all the time.
It's, you know what?
A lot of them
I think if you look left, you look right, you look up, you look down. It's difficult for a lot of people right now, whether you are working or not working.
No, but I think the guy has no home. You know what I mean?
That could be. But how many people do you hear on this radio station that are one step away from being without a home?
Oh, yeah, I understand. You know, maybe you're talking to one. Who knows? You know,
yeah, there you go. Hey, thanks for the call.
Before you go.
Yes.
Could you do me a favor?
Try my best.
Could you find for me, because I haven't heard it in a while, let's see. Little girls have pretty curls, but I like Oreos. Oreos is my choice because it's the very best cookie ever was.
I don't know that one at all.
You don't know that one?
No.
I'm surprised you're my age. You would have heard that one.
Yeah, I may have, but I just don't remember it. I know a lot. Right, look, I've got a lot stored up in this bank up here, but not everything.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Take care.
You too.
All right.
Let's hear from you. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. No, I'm not, but I can pretend to be if you want. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, okay. Hey, I was calling about the tip situation. I had two crazy situations. One time I was in New York and I took a cab. I never took a cab up there. And the guy, he was driving kind of crazy, and I wasn't really, satisfied. So when I paid for my cab, he yelled at me. He said, "Hey, in New York, we tip." I didn't leave him a tip because I wasn't happy with his service, but he actually yelled at me because I didn't leave him a tip.
Look, I don't blame you. You know, I back in the day, one time I was on my cell phone when I had a passenger, and the passenger got out of the cab, called the cab company, and I admitted to the dispatcher, yeah, I was on my fault. I took the blame for it. Hey, that's bad service. So, you know what? Here's what I would say to you. Screw him.
Yeah, right. Well, here's another quick situation. I was in a store, Market Basket, and I was checking out, and the lady, the cashier, she looked really like she hated her job, miserable to be there. So I told myself, I'm going to give her a tip and maybe make her day better. So I went to give her $5, and she said, "No, thank you." And I said, "Wow. You don't need you don't want $5. Who turns down $5?
Not too many people. That's very kind of you, too.
Yeah, and so she didn't want it, and I just said, okay. I said, my goodness, man, this is crazy.
Well, next time you see me, I'll take it. All right, thank you for your call.
Have a good day.
You too. 508-996-0500. Why are we talking about this? Because on the November 5th election ballot, besides the question of who you want to vote for president, who you want, do you think that Elizabeth Warren is going to be eaten, deaten, congressperson in your district, state rep, state senator? There are going to be 5 ballot questions. One of those questions is, should tipped employees be paid minimum wage as opposed to a sub minimum wage? Yes or no? Looking at the WBSM app chat, a couple of people have chimed in. I'm going to try to get to them before I get back to you. My husband saw a tip cup on the counter of a 7-Eleven in New Bedford many years ago. It was labeled Jared's Tips. And this writer also mentioned that she works at a Dunkin's, and she gets paid hourly, and she is dependent on people coming into the store. She believes that if the minimum wage does indeed go up, her hours will go down. I think fewer people will come in, and that will make the hours go down. So I get it. So there's that one. I think there's another one here. I'm getting better at this. Let's see. Oh, I bought a medium cheese pizza and a large roast beef sub at a local pizza joint yesterday, and came out to $31. I thought that was a little pricey. Well, $31 is a lot for a sub and a pizza. Did you tip? And going back to the Dunkin' Donuts worker, it seems to me, and it may have been back when I first came back to WBSM around 2014, that at a particular time, you were not allowed to tip at Dunkin' Donuts. They flat refused to let. I think it was more corporate or the management structure of that franchise that didn't allow folks to tip those employees, which made me think that those employees were getting at least the regular minimum wage at that time, which would have been somewhere around $8 or $9 per hour. Should tipped employees, in particular, we're talking about restaurant servers here, should tipped employees be paid a minimum wage, the going minimum wage, not the minimum wage that they get? They get a subpar minimum wage of somewhere around $6.75 an hour right now. Your thoughts, 508-996-0500. Hello.
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 Hi.
Hi.
I went to a restaurant in Dartmouth last week, and we got pizza and salads, and we asked for, on the salads, they usually put cheese. So anyway, I said, could we have some mozzarella cheese on the salads? And they said, yeah. They charged $5 extra for each salad, and it was only a dinner salad. It was only a regular salad. $5 extra for the cheese.
You got to be kidding me.
$10 for the salad. I swear to God. And I called up when I got home, and I said, I didn't know that until it was on my receipt. So I put it on my charge. And she says, well, cheddar cheese is expensive. I said, you know what? It wasn't cheddar. It was mozzarella, which you use for your pizza. I said, and then she says, well, we're trying to do the place over. Oh, well, you're not going to do the, and it was unbelievable.
Every excuse in the book.
Want me to tell you the name?
No, yeah, that's all right. You can keep that one. But it is amazing. I think what's more important, are you going back there?
No, I won't go back. I told her that. I said I won't be coming back there soon. And it used to be good there, and I don't know. It's always been open, but I mean, but I heard an elderly couple too. They were there, and she says, "Oh, you're doing the place over?" She says, because they had hardly any lights on. They just had those little strings of lights hanging around the top. And she says, yeah, she says, we're trying to, because I could tell by your prices on your menu.
oh, wow. So did, you I don't think you gave me a price that you paid, but did you tip?
For the salad was $10, yeah.
And you
I
tipped,
didn't know
huh?
that yeah, I did, but I wouldn't have if I left like a $10 tip. But we paid separate.
For a couple of salads?
Separately. No, we had pizza. There was 2 pizzas and Lisa pizzas and 2 salads. They were small salads, and we asked for, and the salads were $10 each. But we, they usually give you a lot, when you get a salad. But you could count the cucumbers in it and the tomatoes. It was just terrible. And then when we got the bill, and I already gave her my charge thing, I looked at the receipt when it came back. And when I called up, the lady said, "Did she tell you it was $5 more?" I said, "No." I said, I wouldn't have got it. I would have said, forget it. I don't want any cheese. That's ridiculous. Just the point of it.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
I hear you.
Because
so what are you going to do? A question that I like to ask, what are you going to do about it now? You made a phone call.
I'm just not going to go back. I'm not
going to go back, huh?
Wow. No.
And so are you going to vote on Election Day?
Oh, yeah.
So how are you going to vote on this question dealing with tipped employees?
No, I think that they should just get their tips, and they make a lot of tips. And because I used to waitress years ago, And I did years ago. You didn't make much, a quarter, 50 cents was great. But I mean, nowadays they make quite a bit of money getting tips, and plus, they used to have to claim their tips. I don't know if they do now on the taxes.
Oh, I believe they do. I believe that I don't know how long ago it was that you did it, but in the 70s, the state set up a system to make sure that tips were counted and counted properly. I don't remember how the ratio goes, but apparently it's not good enough because now that let's just give them minimum wage so we can get more tax dollars that way. That I had a caller who brought that to my attention, and it seems to make sense.
Unbelievable. What about you? What do you think? I just turned it on a little while ago.
Are you kidding? No, you just turned it on and you don't know what I said or how I feel. Absolutely not. All right. I pay for the service. That to me, that's what a tip means. I'm paying for service.
I don't like the takeout either when you go up, so getting it yourself and you get a big jar there to put money in here and there. I don't believe in that either because they're not waiting on you.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have to put anything in. If they want to have one up there, they can have it there. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, throw my ducats in there.
Right.
But I hear you.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Bye.
You too. 508-996-0500. Should tipped employees be paid a minimum wage plus tips? I wish some of these tipped workers, if you're listening right now, in particular, if you're listening right now and you think that you should get a minimum wage, please tell me why you should get a minimum wage. I really want to hear from you, and I'll let you talk. I think that you're in to me, a good position that if you do good service, again, it's also prefaced on the fact that your restaurant is good enough that you get patrons that want to come in so you can give good service, so you can receive a good tip or series of tips. But please tell me why you think it's necessary to be paid a regular minimum wage. For one thing, minimum wage, what's it, $15 an hour? And I know that would be more than twice what you're making right now. But how much of that's going to be wiped away in taxes? So I am against it. And if I could just switch gears, I'm watching Mr. Pittman drive into the lot, so he'll be with you after the top of the hour news from ABC. It makes me, or I should say, not makes me, but it reminds me of that other story that we talked a little bit about during hour number one, but we really didn't get into it at all during hour number two because a lot of people have been talking about tipped employees. But we had the two school shootings, one in Maryland, the one in Georgia. There are 5 people dead as a result of those two shootings. We had a kid who took a gun to Waltham High School, and then a football game that's been canceled out. And, in particular, as I think about the Georgia story, because the father has also been charged, second-degree murder in that particular case. And again, we don't know all of the ins and outs, but I never hear folks pointing the finger at what may have been going on inside the halls of school. And it would be nice to know if there have been any studies. Now, the teacher unions, they don't like that kind of stuff going on because they're trying to protect their sacred ground. But how are we supposed to know, we, the tax-paying public, we, the parents, how are we supposed to know that something bad didn't happen within the school curriculum or the school student handbook or something that's going on in school that didn't happen outside of the school that triggered these kids off. Especially if you can't have a study to check that kind of stuff out. So I think that we need to have that type of study. At any rate, it's time for me to pack my bags, get on out the door, let Mr. Pittman take over for the next 3 hours. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great weekend. Adios, amigos.